Hi, my name is Kathy Seal, and I own the Quilt Patch in Tecumseh, Michigan. And this is Terry, the computer gal at the store. And Terry is at the beginning of her quilt career, which gives me a fabulous opportunity to show her all kinds of tools and techniques and things that are on the market right now that make very traditional patterns like the double wedding ring that's right behind us, that was a very, very difficult pattern to do. It makes it a lot easier when you use the fusible interfacing by Quilt Smart. So they're very smart at Quilt Smart.
I see what you did there.
They made a very, very traditional, difficult pattern so much easier. So that's the subject that we're going to be tackling today. Okay?
Well,
so let's talk first about colors. This is a really warm, rich tones that we have. For the arcs, we need to have 6 fabrics. They can be very similar to one another in value. They can all be darks. They can all be mediums. If you come to this choice right here and look at how crazy different it looks by having 30s reproductions. The project that we're going to be showing today is my son's wedding quilt, so don't tell him. They chose a very modern color scape to work with.
Yeah, this is batiks and like Kona salads.
And a Kona salad, yeah. And then the colors are very, very contemporary also. So let's learn how to do this. Things that you need to have are, you're going to need to have the fusible interfacing that goes with, and we're going to get to that part in just a minute. You need to have the template in order to cut those 6 arc shapes that are right there. And then we need to have some type of tube turner. I really like this tube turner by Clover, and I'll show you
how to use it. That just looks like a stick.
When we get to that part. But you can use any tube turner that you're comfortable with if you've turned a lot of tubes in your life.
I have turned very few tubes.
Yes, okay. So what we need to do is cut strips of all 6 of the different fabrics that are going to make up the arc. Now for my son's project, they have got 2 of the same colors. So that means that these 2 colors and these 2 colors are going to be the same, and then they have a separate color for the inside here. So what we're going to be doing is stacking up our strip sets into the order that they're going to be in the arc. So this is going to be the arc. So you can see that I'm starting with this piece, and batiks are 2-sided fabrics. If it were printed fabrics that are one-sided, you'd have to make sure that this piece was up, this piece is right sides down. Okay, so these are going to be right sides together, and now I'm going to take this fabric and I'm going to have it right side up, and again, because I have batiks for the demonstrator, it makes it a little bit easier. But now these 2 fabrics are going to be put right sides together, and they're going to be stacked on top of one another.
3 pairs of right sides together pairings.
Exactly. That's exactly right. These 2 right sides together on the bottom. These 2 right sides together in the middle. These 2 right sides together, and they are on top, just like this. And you're gonna get them all organized all the way down. And so now I have a packet of 6 that I'm going to be cutting, okay? Now I'm going to come in with my template, and I am going to make my cuts just like this. I'm going to cut, and you always have one awkward cut where you have to either come this way, you have to turn your mat, but you have to get this cut off, and then you're going to cut this way, and you're going to turn the template, and you're going to cut this way, and that is what I have right here. So I have got this set right here, nice and tidy. I cut the junk off here with this. Now, these strips, do you see how this is not exactly tidy right here? And it doesn't make any difference because this is extra big. You can see how much bigger this is than what the arc is. So this, you don't have to spend tons of time at the stacking those things up. Close, in this case, is good enough, okay?
I like that.
We're going to stack these on top. We're going to get rid of this side. We're going to cut. And then I have these little sets of 6.
I was going to say, they are.
Each one of these makes one arc.
All right,
okay?
Cool.
So you're going to come in and you're going to sew them into pairs. and then you're going to sew the pairs together. When they're all sewn together, they're going to make that arc shape.
How do you press them?
They're all going to be pressed in one direction, one way or the other. It makes no difference.
They don't have to be consistent from arc to arc?
No,
Okay.
not necessarily, because they all live independent of one another.
All right, cool.
So now that I have all my arcs made, and I have a whole stack of these arcs made, now it's time to come in and we are going to work with the fusible interfacing. And I don't think you've ever worked with fusible interfacing before.
I don't think so.
So I want you to feel this. Now there is a smooth side, and then what's the other side?
Bumpy.
It's bumpy.
Okay.
The bumpy stuff is the stuff that's going to end up sticking.
That's the glue.
That's the glue.
The fusible.
Okay, the stuff that melts and that's going to stick. So I come in here with my rotary cutter. Do you see the outline of that arc right there?
Yeah.
I don't go and scissor cut these. I just take my rotary cutter and I cut right down the middle here. Do you see what we're doing? I'm going to move this to the side, and all I'm doing is rough cutting each one of these arcs out. And I hope you can see it on the camera that there's all kinds of writing on here and all the instructions that we need, and we just need to have this roughly cut out. You're not going to be worried about that dotted line right now or anything. So I come in, I'm going to cut out a couple arcs because I want to make sure I have enough of these. And then what we are going to be doing is we're going to take this, oh, that one's wrinkled. Let's take one that's all nice and smooth. Okay, and we are going to take this, has a line right here in the middle of this, and you are going to line that up to the middle seam allowance on your arc.
Okay.
And this is going to come over, and as long as you have fabric past, do you see there's a dotted line right here? As long as you have fabric past that dotted line and this dotted line, we're good.
Okay. So that, I mean, it's not, there's not like tons of extra, but
No.
there's just, that's how much you should have. Just that
Exactly.
little tiny bit.
Yep,
Okay.
and this line being lined up to the center is really super important.
Okay, that's the center, and does it matter, like, if it's up a little bit higher or down a little bit lower?
No, as
Nope.
long as this guy is in the middle, you are good to go. And I normally center it right in the middle. It comes out just perfect.
Okay.
We'll be back in 1 second. I'm going to go sew this right now, and we'll be right back. Now we're back, and we have all this stitched, and I stitched right on the solid line. You see there's a solid line right here with the stitching on it, and then there is that dotted line that's about 1/8 of an inch past that line right there. So what we're going to do now...
Wait, which way is the fusible again? The fusible is...
Okay, so it's bumpy side down, and it's so easy, you can't even mess it up because it says this side up.
Oh.
Isn't that cool?
So make sure that I don't cut that off when I'm trimming it.
Yeah, well, no, you
So
can...
I have a reminder.
Yeah, and then always remember it's bumpy side to the pretty side of the fabric.
Okay,
Okay, so
got
and
it.
then you're lining up that center seam and making sure that you have a little bit of fabric past those little dots that are down here on the edge.
Cool.
Now we're going to come in and we're going to trim this all up. We're going to come just like this. Now, you can spend, I know, it's kind of scary,
You
but
just
there's
were cutting and everything.
there's no way to cut a curve with a ruler. So this guy just gets cut off just like this. And if you go slow, you have two different ways. This way I went and I cut around the curve. This way you can come in if you want to and make this into a straight line. Do you see how I'm turning the arc? And I'm making it, I'm just cutting a straight line.
That requires more coordination. Now I need to cut and worry
move
about
it.
pressure
Yes.
and moving it at the right speed.
Yeah, and if you go slow, it isn't a huge problem. And then I'm going to trim off those edges and just leave a little bit past the dotted line that's right here. We have to take these and we have to get them turned into tubes. Okay, so I'm going to take my clover tube turner and I'm going to come in just like this, and I'm going to take it just like this, and I'm going to hook that.
So the long part is
So
inside
the long
tube.
part is inside the tube, just like this, and then I stick it in my stomach actually, because what we have to do, and getting it started is always the hardest part, but do you see once we have that?
Oh, I see. It just kind of
It
grabs and holds on.
It does, and it turns itself right over the end of that tube. I come just like this and open that up, and I'm going to pull this off, the little clip that we had, and I use this end nice and gentle, and I pop that end out.
Oh,
So
sweet.
now I have a really scraggly looking one, and now I have to get it to a nice smooth one. What I do is I come in and I do all this sewing, and then I get them to the tube turning part, and then I sit and watch a movie. Or I sit and do whatever. It's my TV work at night, because I'm going to come in here and you have to roll this like this. I kind of roll it between my fingers a little bit, and I'm just going to finger press. If you think you can go to the iron and press this, what would stop you from doing that, Terry?
Over pressing?
No, look at all these dots.
Oh,
yeah,
gosh.
right.
I forgot about that.
Remember,
completely.
I've had people in class come and they come in and say, well, I tried, I thought I was being really smart, and I thought I would just go to the iron, but what they did was they stuck it down to their ironing board, because these are the little dots that are going to stick it where we want it to be.
Well, best case scenario there is that they only wasted one tube. I hope.
Yeah, that's right, that's right. So now we look like this, just like this, and now all we're going to do is come with our iron, and we are going to set these guys right in. I have this wonderful dotted line to match up to my corner square, and I'm going to set my iron on this just like this, and then I'm going to iron over, and I'm going to match this side up with this, and I'm going to put it...
The dotted line, or the dotted line little corner thing matches up exactly to the block corner.
Yep, so it's going to be right in that corner. Can you see that right there? So I have the dotted line nudged up really nicely into that corner, and it puts the arc in just the precise correct spot, and we end up looking like this. So now I have all four corners all done, and they're all pressed on, and when I press this on, I turn it over, and I hit it from the back side too, to make sure all those dots have been melted and then it's sticking nice and firmly. And now it's at this point that I'm going to come in and I'm going to top stitch right along the edge on both sides of the arc. So I do the whole inside, then I go and do the whole outside, and I come right across here. So I don't stop the thread once I get out here and I've stitched here. I stitch right across there, and I come and do this side, and then I stitch right across there, and I go all the way around.
Now, this one is very monotone. What happens when you have multicolors? Do you just choose like a variegated thread to do that top stitching? Because you're not going to switch it every inch or whatever.
You have to decide what thread color works the best for you. And it is a challenge when you get really different colored threads. On the 30s reproduction ones, I had white thread in here because white looks really nice on all the different colors, the 30s reproductions. Once this is stitched down, now you're going to come in with squares, and you are going to take your square of fabric and you're going to put it right here in this corner, and you're going to draw a line. Now I've come in and I have learned to sew from corner to corner on a smaller square like this, and I don't draw the line.
You just eyeball it.
Well, what I did was
using quilting magic.
What I did was I actually started practicing. Instead of drawing a complete line from corner to corner, I maybe started and I drew a dash here and I drew a dash here so that it was a small connection. I'd sew from here to the dash, dash to dash, and then the dash to the end. And then as I got better at that, I put one dash in the middle so that it was a longer space that I had to stitch between. And then finally I was like, I don't need to draw a line at all. And it saves a boatload of time if you can get from here to here without having to draw that line.
I mean, what I found works is kind of staring ahead. Don't focus on right where you're at, or else you're just going to drive everywhere.
And put your finger down here. If your needle's up here, put your finger down here, because weird as that is, your brain will head for your finger. Yeah, so that's another good tip. So once this is stitched on and you look like this right here, you're going to go in and you're going to cut that corner off. And then you're going to flip these all over. These all get ironed, and you're not going to finger press. You're actually going to iron them. Do you see how you're just putting this square to this square? And that's all there is to it.
Nice.
And then you're going to have rectangles on the edges that come in, and that finishes the edge, so that you have a rectangle that comes here, and that's your edge. Now on some of them, I've actually cut this fabric off, and I've come down in here and come here and made a scalloped edge. And it makes a really pretty edge.
So fancy.
Yeah. If you don't do that, make sure you put quilting out here. On the 30s reproduction one, I have to go in and do some more quilting because I was trying to cheat. And I quilted something in here, and I quilted something in here, but then I thought, no, I don't need to quilt anything there. And when I washed it, this pillowed off because this was all left unquilted. So make sure that there's quilting in this outer band also that's about the equivalent of what you put in here and what you put in the center part.
Okay.
Any questions? Any issues?
I don't think so. That was actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Tubes are scary.
Tubes are not scary anymore because you have a
Were
clover
scary.
tubed her. That's right, they were scary.
Yes.
Thanks for watching.